We talked back and forth for a while, not communicating much, and I felt like Hubert Humphrey looking down at Grant Park. Maybe if Humphrey had had a balcony in that 25th floor Hilton suite, he might have behaved differently. Looking out a window is not quite the same. A balcony puts you out in the dark, which is more neutral, like walking out on a diving board. Anyway, I was struck by the distance between me and those street freaks. To them, I was just another fat cat hanging off a balcony over the Strip. And it reminded me of James Farmer on TV today, telling Face the Nation how he'd maintained his contacts with the black community, talking with fat jowls in a nervous hustler style, blundering along in the wake of George Herman's and Daniel Shore's condescension. And then McGarr talking later at the Luau, a Beverly Hills flesh pit, about how he could remember when Farmer was a radical, and it scared him to see how far he'd drifted from the front lines. It scared him, he said, because he wondered if the same thing could happen to him. Which gets back to my scene on the balcony. Hubert Humphrey looking down at Grant Park on Tuesday night, when he still had options. Then, moments later, the 4 flower children hailed a cab. Yes, cab. Taxi. And I walked down to the King's Cellar liquor store where the clerk looked at my Diners Club card and said, "Aren't you the guy who did that Hells Angels thing?" And I felt redeemed. Selah. February 18th. L.A. notes again. 1:30 now, and pill fear grips the brain, staring down at this half-finished article. Test pilots, after a week, no, 3 days, at Edwards Air Force Base in the desert. But trying to mix writing and fucking around with old friends don't work no more. This maddening, time-killing late work syndrome, never getting down to the real machine action until 2 or 3 at night, won't make it. Especially half-drunk full of pills and grass with deadlines passed and people howling in New York. The pressure piles up like a hang-fire lightning ball in the brain, tired and wiggy from no sleep, or at least not enough. Living on pills, phone calls unmade, people unseen, pages unwritten, money unmade, pressure piling up all around to make some kind of breakthrough and get moving again. Get the gum off the rails, finish something, croak this awful habit of not ever getting to the end. Of anything. And now the fire alarm goes off in the hall. Terrible ringing of bells. But the hall is empty. Is the hotel on fire? Nobody answers the phone at the desk. The operator doesn't answer. The bell screams on. You read about hotel fires. 75 killed in Holocaust, leaping off balconies. I am on the 11th floor. But apparently, there is no fire. The operator finally answers and says a wire got crossed. But nobody else is in the hall. This happened in Washington, too, at the Nixon gig. False alarms and a man screaming down the air shaft, "Does anybody want to fuck?" The foundations are crumbling. Yesterday, a dope freak tried to steal the Goodyear blimp and take it to Aspen for the Rock and Roll Festival. Carrying a guitar and a toothbrush and a transistor radio he said was a bomb. Kept authorities at bay, said the L.A. Times, for more than an hour, claiming to be George Harrison of the Beatles. They took him to jail but couldn't figure out what to charge him with, so they put him in a loony bin. Meanwhile, the hills keep crumbling, dropping houses down on streets and highways. Yesterday, they closed 2 lanes of the Pacific Coast Highway between Sunset and Topanga. Passing the scene in McGar's little British souvenir car on the way to Gover's house in Malibu, we looked up and saw 2 houses perched out in space and dirt actually sliding down the cliff. It was only a matter of time and no cure, no way to prevent these 2 houses from dropping on the highway.